I got this Ruby Gillman poster at the movie today. I don't get free posters at movies very often. The only times I've ever gotten one was Sonic, the first one, and Scream 6. But I thought it was still really cool. I like free posters sometimes. And I'm still looking forward to this movie. I know a lot of people aren't looking, but I think I still want to see it at least. It looks pretty. Hey guys, it's Paul. Welcome back to another gut reaction, and this is going to be a two-parter because I am going to go into spoilers with this one, so I'm just going to do it into two separate videos if that's okay with everyone. But this gut reaction is, of course, for none other than Andy Muschietti's, I think I said that name wrong, The Flash, which is now in theaters. I like it. I liked it. I thought this was a really good movie. And some of the flaws that a lot of people have called out or have issues with, I don't have as much of an issue with, but there are others I still have a problem with, but I legitimately enjoyed it, but I know it's definitely not for everyone. If you're not a DC fan, I don't recommend this film. I can say that right off the bat. But if you're like me and if you don't like Man of Steel and you don't like Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, but you like the actors. If you like the actors, and if you liked movies like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Shazam, both Shazam's movies, in my opinion, if you liked movies like those, I think you might appreciate this. If you really like Zack Snyder's Justice League, then I think you should still check out this movie. Even if the Snyderverse isn't continuing, I really think you should check out this movie because it does still have Ben Affleck playing his version of Batman for a little bit. And of course, it still has Ezra Miller in The Flash, and it does have references and little snippets that are clearly from the Snyderverse cut, the Snyder cut of Justice League. So I think you will genuinely appreciate those. It's definitely not a Zack Snyder movie, but I think it'll work for you. If you're really into speedsters, if you really like Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, and think of things like the kitchen scene in Days of Future Past and the mansion explosion scene in X-Men Apocalypse, if you really like scenes like that, where just like it slows down and we just have this one character doing whatever he wants, trying to save everyone, there's a good amount of that in this movie. There's some really good moments like that. Uh, all the acting, I think, works really well. A lot of people are talking about, of course, Ezra Miller and their crimes and their accusations and the things that they've done. Do your best. I'm not saying just ignore it and go in with a clean slate. Do your best to just focus on this movie as a movie and the performance as performance from Ezra Miller. I still get the Flash out of Ezra Miller. They're acting similarly to how they did in both the Snyder cut and Joss Whedon cut of Justice League, because that's where Ezra Miller first appeared as the Flash, minus the quick cameo in Suicide Squad. But I really like, and this is something that someone like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man handled really well. Tobey Maguire, I think, did well over time as Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is starting to get really good at. The character legitimately matured. Barry Allen, Ezra Miller, the one we've seen in movies already so far, does mature in this movie. They're not just cracking jokes or constantly screwing things up. The Flash still makes mistakes in this movie, but Barry is legitimately trying. He knows what he needs to do. He has some legitimately compelling backstory with what happened in Barry's past and also what is going on now that they're trying to figure out. And it's not just the typical you're struggling, you're trapped in place, you're slowing down too much. I need you to try and focus on now. It's about figuring out the past to coincide with the present, not just figure out your present right now. Something forces you to rethink that present. I think it works out really, really well. And again, it ties back to something that did happen in the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League that I don't know if happened in the Snyder cut, but does follow on previous events. This is a legitimate DC movie that isn't self-contained. It has all its own things. It has references to other DC EU movies, if you will. With that said, the effects. I'm a video game fan myself. And to be honest, because the effects are catching a lot of flack in this movie, to be honest, not only have I seen much worse effects in a comic book film, but I've also seen much worse effects in a DC comic book film. Especially for a movie like this that is swimming in moments that require visual effects, speed ups, slow downs, movement, moving characters around, sending them extremely fast, flying through the air, going around extremely quickly, constantly. I've seen I've seen movies, comic book movies, that have a ton of effects like this movie done so much worse. In my opinion, these effects are fine. And there are plenty of moments where the effects look fine, so at the moments where they don't look as good, I wasn't as bothered by. Because I was more focused on the characters. This isn't like Green Lantern, where in my humble opinion, the effects really don't work, and it makes everything even worse, but I'm still not invested in the characters in Green Lantern. In this movie, I am invested in these characters. I care about what they're doing. I care about why they're trying to figure things out. I care about the interactions they have with each other. All of the acting, I think, works really well, in my opinion. I don't think anyone gives a bad performance. I think everyone really knows what kind of emotions they're trying to get across to play these characters. And I really think it works out. But to get into any more of it, I have a few more things I want to cover, and that's definitely going to be in a part two, which is going to have spoilers. So just second, meet with me in part two.